Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi there, and welcome to New Life Live. Steve Arterburn here. Joining me today, Dr. Jill Hubbard will be in the studio, along with, now, here he is, Dr. Jim Burns. Hey, Jim, how are you?
Steve, great to be with you. We held down the fort well while you were on that fancy cruise.
Yes,
we had fun.
It was a great experience, and I hope we get to do it again with a lot more people. But thanks for holding down the fort. That's always difficult. They want to float away. Now, here's the deal. I am thankful to be back, and if you want to join Jim, Jill, and Steve, here's what you do. You call 1-800-229-3000. And Jim, your book, Doing Life with Your Adult Kids, is fantastic. We all know that. And my adult child, Madeline, went with me on the cruise. And people saw what an incredible father I was, that she would be willing to do this. And they asked me, how do you create this kind of relationship with an adult child? And I gave them the answer. Madeline has to be the adult child because, you know, there are just great parents that the child, your kids aren't robots. And so I'm just so grateful for her. We had the best time ever, but I never take credit for who she is as a person because she had all those choices that other people had, and she made the right choices, and I'm grateful for that. Anyway, Jill is in the studio. How are you, Jill? Good to see you today.
I'm good. Hello, guys.
Hey,
well,
Jill.
I got to tell you, if you're watching on our YouTube, the New Life Live YouTube channel, you will see me holding up an amazing thing that I wept over. The first thing I'm holding up is the 1-Year Bible for Women. Every commentary word in here is by my wife, Misty, and she is brilliant. I mean, it's incredible how she writes. And the inferior product is the 1-Year Bible for Men that I did. And we love doing these projects. But I just want to read you, and by the way, if you want a copy, just call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. I literally don't know how much these cost, but they're worth every penny. But part of her introduction, here's a paragraph. What has been your journey with Scripture? If you're like me, you have found incredible beauty, deep healing, and the love of God through His Word, and you've been saved and strengthened as a result. But there have been setbacks. You've wrestled with painful, confusing passages about our ancient sisters, and then reached for truth with even more fervor. Other times you've simply stepped away, dejected. You've noted triumphant heroines hailed alongside even the meekest of women in the Old and New Testaments, and conversely, you have noted shocking imagery and oppression of women. I mean, that's her intro. I mean, if you're a woman and you want the result of like one passage, she would spend 4 days on one passage to get it right when it was a difficult verse for women. And hers is for women, mine for men. And if you want it, you can get a copy. Also, if you're a member of Club New Life, you increase your donation by $10 a month, I will send you one of these. Wouldn't it be great? 2023, you read through the Bible. And this makes it so easy to do. Or maybe you get some of these and give them as gifts to other people. Maybe you create a read through the Bible club, and you and 4 other people, you get these, you give them to them, and you go through that Bible. You'll never be the same. I'm not the same. I'm much more handsome now that I went through that Bible, every single passage in less than a year. All right, if you want to join us, 1-800-229-3000. We do not charge for these calls, and you get every penny's worth when you call us. We'll be back right after this.
We knew our marriage was broken, but we didn't know how to fix it.
The New Life Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is coming to Dallas, Texas, October 21st to the 23rd.
It has transformed our lives, our marriage. You have reached our home. You have helped transform our lives.
Join Steve Arterburn.
It's been a dream of mine for a long time to help people to grow more intimately together, and we believe that everybody has room to grow in the intimacy level of their life.
And Milan and Kay Yurkovich.
We help couples understand how their attachment style is sabotaging their current relationship, and then we teach them how to create comfort in a relationship.
To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or go to newlife.com.
Thank you for giving us a pathway where we can humble ourselves and say, Lord, we need help. Help us fix it. And we thank you for that.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE for more information. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back, Steve Arterburn here, and as you know, we love hurting people. I mean, we love people that hurt, is what I meant to say. And if you're hurting, we want to help you because we love you. This is what we've been doing for years, and so many great stories of transformation that we got to hear on our trip on the Rhine River. We try to do these every year, and COVID got in our way, but we'll do one next year, and I hope you can join us. Anyway, the number for those Bibles, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and the number for this program, 1-800-229-3000. Let's go to Dave. He's calling from Colorado Springs, Colorado, listens to the great station, KGFT. Dave, how are you today? What's going on?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
So,
How can we help?
about a year and a half ago, I found out that my wife was sexting. She had told me at the time I caught her that she had stopped. And so for about a year, she lied to me, saying that she had stopped sexting. Even every time I asked her, she said, she'd stopped. And then 6 months ago, I found out that she and her girlfriends were going out and basically cheating on their spouses, which included myself. And so I confronted her about it, and she had admitted that she had a problem with and wanted to change and wanted to make our marriage better. And so she got a therapist about 6 months ago. But about 2 weeks after that, I actually caught her in the act with one of her coworkers. And so we both have therapists individually, and then a couple occasions we've seen her therapist. But my question is that I'm having a really hard time forgiving her for all of this, all of the lying, all of the cheating, all of the telling me everything's gonna be good, and then I find out that she's still doing stuff behind my back. So I've been praying about it a lot, but I'm still really struggling with it.
Dave?
Yes.
Now is not the time to forgive. And that's not heretical.
Okay.
If you were to forgive her now versus demand that she do some things to change, you would essentially be enabling evil in your own home. Now, I can't find anywhere in Scripture that enabling evil is a good thing. The Bible says when you wink at wrong, you cause trouble, but an open rebuke brings lasting peace. Now, what have you required of her? Just to go to counseling while she's cheating on you? Is that the requirement?
Yes, that she's been to see a counselor. She did put an app on her phone where I'm able to track her to see where she is.
Uh-huh.
I honestly don't think that she's physically cheated on me since catching her in the act. I still wonder if she's not doing stuff on her phone, but she won't let me see her phone.
Okay. Well, so she went to see the counselor, and then now she's keeping her phone from you. That's not acceptable. If this was a man and I was talking to the wife, I would say, well, this person is either getting better or they're still hiding things. And if they're still hiding things, then they haven't really made a shift in the direction they're going. Now, why haven't you told her that you're going to divorce her if anything happens again, and that she needs to do more than just go to counseling? Why haven't you told her that?
Well, I have told her that I never specifically said I'm going to divorce you, but I told her in front of her therapist that I don't think that if another one of these acts I find out about is I'm going to stick around. So if something else happens again, that I'm going to be sticking around for that. But I don't know. I'm kind of afraid of going the divorce route, but then again, I've kind of put it in my mind, and with the help of my therapist, that I can't control her actions, and I can only control how I react to her actions. And
well, right.
so
and so when you react with no requirements other than going to counseling, and then she's keeping stuff from you on her phone, that's not the appropriate reaction, is to do nothing. And I don't want you to end up in a divorce. And the way you not end up in divorce is for her to believe that you are ready to walk out that door, and she's got to get her act together and go to Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous or Sex Addicts Anonymous meetings and get a different counselor if this one isn't any good, and that she needs to show you her phone every day. She needs to make a commitment. Either you're going to be 100% faithful or you're still betraying me every day. When you come along with that kind of stance, you actually have a chance of saving this marriage. What I see you doing is watching your marriage go down the river, and you're waving goodbye. You got to stand up and demand some stuff, and if she's not willing to meet those demands, then you now know she's really not in the marriage anyway. But what I think will happen is she will respond to you when you react in a different way, other than, I'm just going to let this go and forgive you and hope for the best. Jill, you have something you want to add
Yeah, a few things. So it's really scary, Dave, to stand up and be strong like Steve is talking about, because the fear is, well, she'll leave. Right? But he's right. If you don't stand up and be strong, she'll leave. Right? Because that's what happens. People slowly get used to the idea of leaving a person. And so the more time and the more gracious you are in one sense, the more they have time to figure it out, versus, no, this isn't okay, and I'm setting these limits with you. Now, that being said, I think prior to that, this is not just about stopping her bad behavior. This is about, why is your wife looking for excitement and stimulation outside of the marriage? So this is the part where none of this is your fault, her going outside of the marriage. Right. But what is happening in the marriage that has you guys in a position, and it may be all her, but where you're kind of maybe the more responsible one and she's the one that's acting out, right? What has happened inside her heart where emotionally she's not bringing those needs to you? Have you been a safe person? Have you been a fun person? Right? And so I think exploring that in therapy, what is it why this need for excitement? Because that's, especially if she hasn't fully cheated, then she's going out with her girlfriends. They're looking for fun and excitement, right? So they're feeling perhaps like their day-to-day lives are boring or dreary, or somehow they've missed out on something. So, and then in a group, you kind of make it okay, right? As if, we're just doing this on the side. It really doesn't affect our lives. And it affects your lives in a big way.
Sure does. Jim, your thoughts here?
Dave, they're saying it right. You've got to clearly express your expectations. To be clear is to be kind. And so if you want any possible way for this to work, you've got to be absolutely clear. You've got to be strong. Now, sometimes we can do that on our own, but most of the time we need people around us. So I would encourage you to keep getting counseling, have some friends and accountability who can help you do that. But the only way you're going to save this marriage is for you to be clear with those expectations. And if she chooses not to, then you've got to do the tough thing. And it doesn't go from leave the marriage and divorce immediately. You say, I'm moving out if I see this again. But some of those demands aren't going to be easy demands for her. And if she's not willing to do it, then you're kidding yourself with this marriage anyway.
Yeah.
So clearly expressed expectations. You be in charge. You take the lead. And if you're not willing to do that, you're going to keep going down that.
So you're
crummy path.
expressing all of that at the same time where you go to therapy with her, and you're asking her, tell me about your disappointment in our marriage.
What would lead you to not regard me as a man worthy of someone being faithful to?
Right.
Now, Dave, teenagers go out at night and they act like their parents don't even exist, right? Well, that's what she's doing. She's acting like a teenager and like you don't even exist. When you start to become the man God called you to become, not the nice, passive guy that a lot of people think they need to be, she's going to have a different reaction to you. We've done the research on this. And the research says if you don't do this, you're just waiting for the next thing to happen that triggers her, and now she's back in a relationship. So not forgiveness yet. Action is what you need to be doing. Not trusting her. In fact, you have no reason to trust her at all. Does that make sense, even though it's hard?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard, but it makes sense.
Okay, so you need your therapist to help you with this. You need, I would say, a great Al-Anon group or life recovery group to go to, and a sponsor that will encourage you every day. And to that end, I want to send you a copy of the Life Recovery Bible and a workbook that just works on this issue of sexual integrity. In fact, I'll send 2 of them because she needs to be working on sexual integrity. Demand more when whatever's happening isn't enough to change the behavior. Now, this weekend, we're doing our Intimacy and Marriage Workshop. There's nothing you could do, I guarantee you, nothing you could do more powerful than to get you and her to that workshop. We've seen people in a lot worse shape than you are literally have the dream marriage they always wanted because finally both people are telling the truth to each other and they're enjoying the fact that they can both live with the truth and grow with the truth and bond and truly attune to each other in that process. So I want to tell you about that off the air. Anybody else, it's newlife.com or 1-800-NEW-LIFE. If you're struggling in your marriage, the answer is in Dallas this weekend, starting on Friday at 3 p.m. Nothing more that you could do. And if there was something better that would help you better, I would tell you about that. I don't know of anything that could help you as much as this. Let's go to Robert in Nashville, Tennessee, WNQM. Hey, Robert, how are you?
Hey, guys, a long-time listener. Have not ever called in before, but listen to you because of my travel schedule on the interstate almost every day. It just happens to work out. And have heard a similar situation to this prior gentleman's call many times on your show, and I've lived it. Lived it 13, 14 years ago.
Oh,
and with a long-term spouse, almost 20 years of marriage, then all of a sudden things switched overnight, the girls' night out and etc., which turned out to be a whole lot more than that and led to affairs.
Oh, boy.
And I was just, and you guys have covered most of the salient points over the last 10 minutes with this gentleman, but I was just going to, instead of screaming at my car windshield, I figured I'd call in for one time and say,
That's good.
In this situation, that marriage is over. That marriage is over. You just described, the young man described a marriage that's done. And we did the counseling when I caught my spouse and had a private investigator and got all my facts together. I'm an executive, so I did my homework, so I didn't go in making accusations. I went in with a file. and presented it, and then we went to Christian counseling for 3 or 4 or 5 times before the Christian counselor handed me a check back and said, "You're done. This is done." And as sad as it is to say, some marriages are irretrievably broke, and there is no fixing it. If the other party does not want to fix it, it's over. And the best thing he can do is make those demands. She probably won't meet them. It's time to move on. There is life on the other side. And I have found a good Christian woman, and we are and we're in happiness now. And the ex-spouse is still mired in her issues. And
well, let me say this:
away.
If she doesn't do something, I think this is probably over, Robert. Like you're saying, that's why we were counseling her. Fortunately, we've got this intimacy in marriage weekend that has, it's saved marriages where there was a court order not to even stay in the same room. That's what's different.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is coming to Washington, D.C. November 4th through the 6th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
I just can't say enough of what New Life has done for our marriage.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
You can help New Life stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of the 1-Year Bible for Men or the 1-Year Bible for Women. These Bibles combine the best-selling daily Bible reading format with 2-minute daily devotionals written to create a one-of-a-kind devotional Bible that you'll love. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back, and I really appreciate that call. The reality is, if you don't do something better, different, then you're doomed. You have to up your game or be willing to up your game. Let's go to Isaac, Stone Lake, Iowa. And Isaac, welcome to New Life Live. How are you doing?
Hello there, Mr. Steven. It's an honor to finally talk to you. I'm a fan of your book. It's helped me a lot.
Which book is that?
Every Young Man's Battle.
Oh, wow. Well, wonderful. Tell it, what was life like before the book, and what's it like now?
Well, it was really bad. I was addicted to pornography since high school, so it lasted 8 years.
Wow. And you just read the book and said, "I'm going to do what it says," and you've been free from that?
I've read it a couple of times, but it wasn't until this year that I really committed. And yeah, I've seen wonderful changes. I'm actually a missionary right now. I'm originally from Mexico, but I'm here at Storm Lake for a couple of months.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful to hear that you're doing ministry, and it sure wouldn't be the same if you still had that problem. I appreciate this call, and anybody else, Every Man's Battle has a new edition, Every young man's battle is there. But I'll tell folks that struggle with sexual addiction, here's something you can do right now to make your life 1,000% better. Delete YouTube right now, and then those videos won't keep coming up. Or delete any app that throws stuff at you. Just delete it. You don't need YouTube. Anything that's like TikTok, if you got that and images are coming up, delete it. You don't need it. Now you're able to go through a day without being tempted every 7 minutes. That's something you can do immediately. Well, I'm really glad that you called, and Isaac, I'm going to send you Every Man's Bible as a way of saying thank you for this, and I hope and pray it inspires some folks to either read the book or come to our Every Man's Battle workshop, where lives really do change or transform. All right, Isaac, thank you so much. And if anybody is interested in Every Man's Battle, Every Young Man's Battle, it's 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now, if you want to join us on the program, we're going to be here. We have convinced Jim to stay another hour and a half. And here's the phone number, 1-800-229-3000. 1-800-229-3000. We will be here. Now, let's go to another Jim right out of Los Angeles, and he listens to KKLA. That's an amazing area covered by KKLA. Jim, how are you today?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right. Are you struggling with something?
No. So, first of all, I wanted to thank you for some past accomplishments that you guys have helped me with. One of them was Every Man's Battle, like the previous caller. But I really didn't have a porn problem. I just had a looking problem. And I looked, and your book just literally transformed me on the way that I looked at a woman objectively. You know. Yeah. So good. First of all, that's the first thing. That was huge. That was really, and a friend just gave me the book and said, "Hey, I read this book and it's really cool." So I ended up getting it. But the other thing was that many years ago, I was struggling with my wife with intimacy problems, meaning her being able to communicate with me and trust me. And we had been married for 10 years. And you said something on your show that said that to get one's attention, you have to surrender 100%. And I'll tell you, one day, and we were very disconnected. We had a great marriage, but she wouldn't, when we'd ever discuss anything, she would just black out, just say, "I don't want to talk about it," regardless. And so she had a really tough childhood and was blamed a lot by her father for everything. And so I couldn't get past that. But one day you said, submit yourself to your wife 100%. Just give in 100%. And one day we had a little hassle, and she walked away, went upstairs, and I got on my hands and knees, and I told her, I said, "I'm not letting you, I'm not moving from this position until you come down and talk to me." And I was on my hands and knees, and I begged her to come and talk to me. For an hour it took her to come down. And she came down, and she looked at me, and she trusted me from that point on.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
That is something.
It changed my whole life, because she went from being a non-trusting person, not that I had done anything to her, but it was just one of those things where her childhood had programmed her. And so, I could say something like, "Hey, honey, when you go to the store, pick up some whatever, because we're out." And she'll say, "Well, I didn't get it last time because of this and this and this." And I was just like, "Well, I don't care. That doesn't mean anything. Just pick that up for me, please." But that changed my life. But I always listen to you guys, but I want to get away from that. I have a very important thing that's happening in my life. And my daughter got married. She's 22
Hold on a
right
second.
now.
Why don't you save that? Because we've got to go to a break. But thanks for sharing that story.
Okay, I'll save it.
And Ephesians 5:21, if anybody doesn't know that there needs to be a mutual submission in marriage. A lot of people never hear that verse. They hear every other verse, or they hear, "Wives, submit yourself to your husband," but they don't get the other part of that. It's mutual submission. And when that happens, look at the result of this. I call it brilliant humility. First of all, it's a brilliant strategy, that humility that leads to surrender. But also, it's such a bright light You can't miss it. It's so brilliant. We'll be back after this.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back, and we're talking with Jim, and I just love it, Jim, that you shared a story where he made a decision. Now, it wasn't just a choice, but look at what he did. He stayed on his knees for an hour.
Wow.
And says, I'm not getting up. And then she responds after an hour. How many people have come to a place in your life where you want change and you're committed, but 5 minutes later, you're on to something else and you miss what he was able to experience?
Right. Or usually, like, that's really what you're talking about with brilliant humility, because usually it's like, well, look at all that I tried, and she didn't respond. And then, feeling mad and giving up.
You use the word surrender, Jim, and I always like to remind people there are two types of surrender. One is that emotional, spiritual experience that we love for people to have. But the other kind of surrender is a choice to comply, a choice to just do what a lot of people have done with the same problem and they got better. That is as much a surrender as the other kind. Now, we asked you to hold on because we wanted to hear the situation that you're dealing with now. What's going on?
Well, one last thing to add to that with my wife. I'm kind of a tough guy, and I'm not tough as far as holding back my emotions or anything like that. But I grew up in a real tough environment, and so, that's kind of the persona that's kind of like who I am. And so for me to be able to get to the point to where I ran out of everything that I could do for her to try to make her connect with me, for me to get on my hands and knees and literally beg and stay there for that, it was a great growth period for me too. And so because I just let everything go and said, this is my wife and I want her 100% in my life. But so anyways, that was just a backstory there. But
not many people can go from John Wayne to Winnie the Pooh kind of stance, and I am grateful you found that path. All right, now tell us what you're dealing with now.
Okay, so I have a daughter, and she's in her early 20s. She's been married for a year. She lived with us until she got married, and very tight, just an only child, and very tight family. We never went on vacations without her. We just had a great relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And she fell in love with somebody, and I believe it was like her first kiss and everything. And so she ended up, he was ending up, they went out, I call it courting, but they went out for about maybe a year and a half, and they got married. And it has been an incredible transition for her, especially in the beginning. She was having problems with her in-laws, a very powerful mother-in-law, and, that kind of a situation. And then being out of our home, not having the coverage from our home, sleeping in her bed with, her cat, and being here with us. And, that whole thing was a huge, just a huge thing for her. And we noticed that, and she was a big athlete, and she played, all the way through her growing years. And so she was extremely fit. And so I started noticing she was gaining some serious weight.
Yeah.
And more weight and more weight. And now, a year later, she's gained 80 pounds.
My goodness.
And so something is up in her brain. And when I try to talk to her, she feels, and we're very tight, but she feels very ashamed to talk to me. And so I don't, today I just called to get healing as a choice from you guys. I didn't know I was actually calling this number, so I feel so blessed. So I'm telling
Glad
you the
you had
truth.
plenty to say.
Yeah, and so when I told the woman online, which was she's just a sweetheart, I told her what's going on. She goes, "Yeah, you probably would be a great one to answer a question, but to give a question." But anyways, my point is that I don't want to. The situation is really more than anything, and I know there's a food problem. She's doing something with the food as far as healing. But I went over to her house the other day, and I saw a bottle of vodka, and it was about half empty. And the situation is that we don't drink in my household, and she never drank.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that, Steve, I just was melting inside. I didn't even know how to approach it because, I don't know where to start.
Okay. Well, let's start with Dr. Jill and see what she has to say about this, and we'll go to Jim, and then I'll have
Jim,
a couple
I'm glad
things.
that you're really tight with your daughter, and that it sounds like you've earned the right to speak into her life. And I think as a loving dad, maybe you take her out and you just say, "Sweetheart, I know you don't want to talk about things, but I'm seeing things that lead me to wonder if you're okay. And I know you put up a big front, right? But I'm here." And kind of, I wonder if she's a little bit like your wife, and that she has a harder time maybe disclosing the troubles that she feels, or she doesn't want you to be disappointed in her. And so I think to just put her at ease, right? There's nothing you could tell me that would change my love for you, right? And just really affirm that in her, and say, she's an adult and she's married, so it's not like you want to intrude upon that, but you are still there as an ongoing support for her. And it's hard to ignore the things that you've seen.
Yeah.
And, about a month ago, I did just that. Sometimes she goes and works with me for the day. And so, I said, "Look, honey," I said, "I really want to talk to you about something that I see." And she goes, "Okay, whatever." And I said, "This is the deal." I go, "I can see that you're responding to something, and you're making, you're not happy." And I go, I said exactly what you said, Jill. I said, "This is the situation. No matter what happens with you, fat, skinny, whatever, whoever you are, I will love you ground zero. I mean, that's just the way our family is."
Yeah.
And I said, "But," I go, "if you don't figure out what's eating you, this is going to be a continuous thing, and it's going to get worse." And I said, "So, if you want to talk to me, I'm here." And she said, "Thank you, Daddy." She goes, I'm going to handle it myself. And so, it's like, but when I went over to her house and I saw that vodka, I was like, holy moly, it's like, does this progress to that?
Right.
So
well, let's hear what Jim has to say. Let's hear what Jim has to say. What are you thinking, Jim?
Well, I think, Jim, I think you're doing a great job with her because you didn't push. And sometimes what happens is we have to tiptoe. We want to push. We want to, grab them by the shoulders and shake them. But you didn't push, and you said, I love you no matter what. And so, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you still are a safe person, again, because you didn't push. You weren't just a one-topic parent. So I think what's really good is now you have the opportunity, and she said, thank you, Daddy. I mean, that's special. I'm going to take it on my own. Most of the time, whatever's going through, especially even when you name the weight gain, that means there's lots of other stuff going on the inside of her. You sometimes we have to wait. It's like fishing. You want the fish to jump on your hook today, and sometimes it takes a long time, right? But I think you're doing it right. Now the vodka situation is something new. So next time you're working with you, or she's with you, you might be able to say, "Hey, honey, I saw this. Is that an issue?" And see how she responds. But I find that the best conversations sometimes are the second conversation, the third conversation, the fourth conversation, not the first. And your first conversation was perfect because you said what you thought and you shared your love. And now she's saying, eventually I'm going to be able to talk with my dad. I hear this all the time with young adults because if the parents push, then they're pushing them right out. Unsolicited advice is taken as criticism sometimes. And so they see you as being too critical or whatever. That didn't happen with you. So I think you're going to get a better second conversation or a third conversation. Now, don't be surprised, though, in that second conversation when you bring up the V word, vodka, that, she totally, backs away from you for a moment because maybe that now you're maybe getting to something that's really causing it. So, test the waters, but keep it up, keep the relationship.
Now, Jim, you didn't call.
Yeah.
Yes, you didn't call Psychic Friends Network, but I'm going to do something that would be more consistent with Psychic Friends Network. Okay. Talk to me about attention deficit disorder. You have it. Your wife have it. Do you have it? Does your wife have it? Does she have it?
Not that I know of.
Well, at Psychic Friends Network, they would say, okay, that's what I'm getting at. But I just, sometimes a person, when they get married, they're experiencing all this dopamine while they're in the romance stage. And if they're athletic, they're getting all of that when they're at home with mom and dad. Then they get married, and the day after the honeymoon, there's no more dopamine. It's just there, and they're missing their bed, and they're missing being active. So maybe she doesn't, or no one has that, but I would be looking at, man, she needs something to correct the brain here, brain chemistry. But when we come back, I'm going to ask you another question, and that's going to be about her husband, your relationship with him.
My husband was involved with a pornography addiction. He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict. There were strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Washington, D.C. November 11th through the 13th. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or online at newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
Join New Life Ministries for a brand new one-day conference for women at the Museum of the Bible called Lumina. Join us for an unforgettable day with friends or the women's group from your church. At Lumina, you will be immersed in and surrounded by God's Word all day, including time in the World Stage Theater for worship led by Nicole C. Mullen. A powerful message from Bible teacher Jen Wilkin that will leave you empowered to live into your calling. Plus, a private group tour of the Museum of the Bible. There's nothing like it. This one-day event, Lumina, is happening on Thursday, November 3rd, or Friday, November 4th. Pick the day that works best for you. Gather your friends and get your tickets at newlife.com. Hurry, special pricing ends soon, so visit newlife.com and click on the Lumina banner. Inspire your faith at Lumina, where women rise together. Learn more at newlife.com.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here. Final issue, the husband. And what's your relationship like, Jim, with your daughter's husband?
I think it's pretty good. That is a whole another story, but it's one of those situations where everybody in our church knew that I really looked after my daughter. And when she was 14, we put together a dating contract.
Okay,
and,
but let me just stick with this. Let me stick with this. So, okay. Is he aware that he's losing her, like you're aware you're losing her? She's not the same person. Is he aware of that?
He's got to be. I've kind of hinted to him a
Don't
few
hint.
times when we've been alone.
Okay, I'm going to just suggest to you that you get in touch with him and you say,
okay,
I am convinced that we're losing her, you and me, these men in her life, and we need to help her find her way. And then you might suggest that they go to intimacy in marriage that we do. Mm-hmm. You might suggest that you get a counselor or that they go to counseling together, and then maybe from there she has her own. But I think it's time to call on him to help his wife and not just watch this happen. And what you might find when you talk with him is there's all sorts of reactions you never dreamed he would have, because literally he is watching this fit and wonderful wife gain 80 pounds, drink vodka and leave the bottle around, and he's not doing anything. If he was really concerned, he would have been coming to you saying, what do you think? I mean, what's going on here?
Or maybe he's the one drinking the vodka.
Well, right. There you are. See? But I think it's time for you to intervene and go to him and see what his response is. Not in a judgmental way, but do you see it? And do you want us to put our heads together on what we could do about it?
Well, see if he's concerned.
You're right. And if you've got a great relationship with him, it's got to include your daughter is going away, and somebody needs to help her. I'm so glad you called, Jim, and I'm going to send you Every Man's Bible, a way of saying thank you for calling. In fact, I'll send 2, and you give 1 to him. You called about healing as a choice. We'll send that, and I'll also send for her to take your life back, and I'm grateful that you called. Well, a lot of women are impacted by sexual integrity problems of the man. I want to play something for you about our Restore workshop, which is for women who are dealing with a man with a sexual integrity problem.
My husband attending Every Man's Battle, and I myself attending the Restore conference definitely gave us each the tools and the motivation to keep our marriage, to save our marriage. I can say with all sincerity, without New Life, if I hadn't gone to the Restore conference, I probably wouldn't be with my husband now, but God is doing miracles in our lives, and I'm very, very thankful for this ministry. I encourage all women to go to the Restore workshop. It's a life changer, regardless of what happens in your marriage.
Thank you for that. Isn't that incredible? Well, that could be your story too, and we've got a Restore workshop coming up. Great things happen there. And the other thing I want to mention, if you want to be part of the great things that God is doing through New Life, support us. I mean, really, this is a great time of year to just say, okay, I'm going to finally do it. And we'll send you, we've got this 1 year Life Recovery Prayer devotional, and it's fantastic. Every day is an amazing recovery principle and prayer to go with it. That's our way of saying thank you for any gift at all. Come be part of some of this great stuff that's going on. I think we got time for one more call, but if you hang on here or you want to be in the next show, 1-800-229-3000. Let's go to Angel, New York. I'm coming to New York next week to speak at a pregnancy center. Now, Angel, we don't have a lot of time, but how could we help you? We'll try to get to this.
All right, I'll make it quite quickly. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Sure.
I became a brand new grandfather, and I'm ecstatic, and it's just magical. However, when my granddaughter was born, I hit this emotional pothole because I was abandoned by my father, and I didn't quite understand why the emotional retreat.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, I'm good now with my granddaughter, but for that moment, I was really, really puzzled as to why that happened, and I'm wondering if you guys can give me some encouragement as to why do you think that happened?
Yeah. Jill, you want to start us off here?
Well, Angel, I'm sorry that did happen to you. So a lot of times things that happen in our childhood, right, those are hurts that stay with us. And even though we may have worked through them some, or we feel like we're an adult now and we've moved on, when we hit other times in our lives, and often with our kids or our grandkids, that are similar to a time when we were really hurt, we hit, like what you said, an emotional pothole. And so that just shows you that, okay, there's a little more work to do there, right? To look at that. There's still some hurt underneath what's been healed over. And so it's good to take notice. It's good to talk about it, to possibly go into therapy or talk with close friends so you can kind of work that through. And it sounds like you are getting to the other side, but it's like that granddaughter. Sometimes we project onto our current people the feelings of the past. So it's like that granddaughter perhaps was you.
Yeah. Jim, you have a quick thought here?
Well, congratulations, Angel, on your granddaughter. I call that a love relationship and love affair between generations, and it's your legacy. It's a beautiful thing. And Jill's so right. When something happens, I saw this working with kids who were actually abused. If they were abused at age 12, we'll say, then when they have a daughter who's age 12, all of a sudden it comes back to them. Mm-hmm. So that's exactly what's happening to you. This is a chance for you to work through some of that past pain. And as Jill said, sometimes that takes counseling. Sometimes that takes just talking with a friend. Sometimes it just takes recognizing it. But I think all of us have to understand that there are things that happen in our life, and it comes back. It's always the onion peel. So there are so many times in my life where I've worked through something, and I go, okay, I've got a victory here. We've moved on. And all of a sudden it comes back. And it comes back even in good moments like, the birth of a granddaughter. So,
and I want to just recommend, because we're out of time, a trauma therapist could save your whole future, because being abandoned is a trauma. And I'm sorry we don't have more time, but God bless you. Let me send you Every Man's Bible. But if you're willing to open up to a counselor, and especially one that's trained in trauma, you could be free of this. And I hate it that you're still having to bear the pain of a man who abandoned you. Really sorry about that. Now, I want to mention that on November 4th, that's the Restore Workshop. Also, on November 3rd and 4th, that's when Lumina is happening at Museum of the Bible, and we're all excited about what's going to happen. It is an incredible event, and if you haven't seen the stuff on our website, look at the Lumina banner. It's Jen Wilkin, Nicole C. Mullen, Lauren Green McAfee. It's a day where women rise. Check that out. Or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Bring a friend. It's going to be great. If you need help, it is 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And Intimacy and Marriage, it's today. It's this weekend, October 21st in Dallas. Come join us.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.